It's Monday evening, July 21st of 2025, and it's time to check out what the government and our politicians have been up to today. So Hunter Biden, he finally gave an interview, and oh my God, it's a banger. It's filled with F-bombs, plenty of colorful language, crapping all over everybody. It's something special. And of course, he also makes himself look completely foolish, talking about how we need illegal immigrants so we can keep our hotel rooms clean and our restaurant dishes cleaned. You know, the typical thought process that Democrats typically talk about with regard to illegal immigrants. But we also have the footage of the two illegal immigrant scooter-riding douchebags who shot the CBP officer in New York City, them rolling up to the hospital after the officer shot one of them, his buddy dumping him off at the hospital. And yeah, and spoiler alert, if you haven't heard yet, both dicks have been arrested. It might shock you how many times they were previously arrested in New York City and then cut loose before they hunted down the CBP officer. And also, Senator John Fetterman is working with Republicans to push a bill regarding cash payments for Americans, and we'll check in on that. We also have Democrats complaining about the Trump administration laying off scientists who are working at the EPA, and the Democrats seem to believe that climate change will go apocalyptic without us overstaffing scientists. We also have the June fundraising numbers with the Democrat Party and the Republican Party. Which one of them raised more? That might not surprise you, but by how much? That might actually surprise you, though. And also, Secretary Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture, she went on a python hunt in the Florida Everglades over the weekend. And we have a bunch of other stuff to get into, so I'll just jump right on in and we'll get started here. So starting here, I got to start with this. I got to start with the Hunter Biden thing. So this is from Nick Sordor. New, Hunter Biden is attempting to burn down practically everyone in the Democrat Party. Expose them all, Hunter. What influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. F him and everyone around him. I mean, dude, the F-bombs. It is awesome. It is absolutely crazy. So let me crank this up a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to make it too loud or not, but all right. Let's see what we got here. Check this out. This is crazy.
Opinions, but fuck him. Fuck him. Fuck him and everybody around him.
That's the loudest I got.
Nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. Fucking George Clooney is not a fucking actor. He is a fucking, I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. Fuck you. What do you have to do with fucking anything? Why do I have to fucking listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his fucking life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the fucking New York Times to me and James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 fucking years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of fucking David Axelrod. Dude, and David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior fucking speechwriters in, on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40-50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times, how to pass more legislation than any president in history, how to have a better midterm election than anybody in history, and how to garner more votes than any president that has ever run. And they're going to replace their judgment for his.
Not to mention...
Who's Jake Tapper's audience? Jake Tapper...
My mom or something? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. For real, though. I don't even think it's your mom anymore.
No.
By the numbers, what influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that, I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to shit after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab, such a disservice to everybody that he serves with.
Oh man, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. Just unbelievable, man. Just dropping bombs left and right, dude. Give him a reality show. Hunter Biden needs a reality TV show. That's all I'm saying. Just absolutely crazy. So that was worth leading, hands down. I mean, that's definitely going to be the story of the day. I mean, I don't honestly watch cable TV. I've got a day job, so I'm not watching cable television all day and Fox News and MSNBC and all of them. But I'm sure that they were running clips, probably bleeping the hell out of it because it was just dropping bombs like crazy. It was fucking wild. So, yeah. So, I mean, now that Joe Biden's not in office anymore, I guess Hunter's free to, just cut loose. And boy, oh boy, did he. I don't know. We'll see if he ends up on anybody else's programs, but I don't even know who that dude was that he was interviewing with, to be honest with you. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on. So this is from leader John Thune. The Trump administration and Senate GOP have been hard at work executing the mandate we received from the American people last November. Hopefully that's not too
Mr.
loud.
President, yesterday marked 6 months since President Trump took office. And today is the 200th day of the Republican majority here in the United States Senate. And in that time, the Trump administration and Senate Republicans have been hard at work executing the mandate we received from the American people last November. We already have a number of accomplishments on the list. We got started by sending the Laken Riley Act to President Trump's desk during the first week in office to keep criminal illegal immigrants off our streets. President Trump signed the Halt Fentanyl Act last Wednesday, which permanently classifies fentanyl analogs as the deadly drugs that they are. On Friday, he signed the Genius Act, a landmark bill to bring digital assets into the mainstream and secure U.S. leadership in financial innovation. And the first rescissions package in 3 decades is headed to the president for his signature.
Nice.
We passed measures
Finally.
to end 16 burdensome Biden-era regulations. We passed the Take It Down Act to combat non-consensual explicit images being shared online. And of course, 2 weeks ago, Mr. President, on the 4th of July, the president signed into law the big, beautiful bill to deliver permanent tax relief for the American people to make our country safer, stronger, and more prosperous. And Mr. President, we have additional bills coming down the pike. The Armed Services Committee under Chairman Wicker recently reported the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2026. And the Appropriations Committee under Chair Collins has reported out 4 bipartisan bills, which we will begin considering this week. I said last year that I was committed to bringing appropriations bills to the floor through regular order, and we are in the process of doing exactly that. Of course, any regular order consideration of appropriation bills is going to require cooperation from Democrats. And this week, we'll get a glimpse of where Democrats are on this issue. It was deeply disappointing to hear the Democrat leader threaten to shut down the government if Republicans dared to pass legislation to trim just 0.1% of the federal budget.
Dude, that's no
But I'm
surprise to
hopeful
anybody.
That is not the position
Democrats
of
are
the Democrat
scumbags
Party.
these days.
Time will tell. Mr. President, the Senate has also important work to do to confirm the president's nominees. We started out this year by confirming 21 of the president's cabinet nominees at the fastest pace in more than 2 decades. And we've kept up our focus on getting President Trump's team into place. We've now confirmed 96 civilian nominees, far outpacing where the Senate was at this point in the first Trump administration. And the only reason, frankly, Mr. President, that we're not moving faster is because of Democrats' historic, that is right, historic level of obstruction. Democrats have been forcing cloture
especially over the last
votes
decade.
for every civilian nominee, something that is without precedent. President Trump is the first president on record.
Now, to be fair, Republicans haven't been pulling their weight either. The only thing they do is just slow down the progress that the Democrats are trying to achieve by railroading us into freaking financial oblivion. Republicans aren't doing that much either. They're not doing much at all. That's all they're doing is just slowing down Democrats. I mean, Republicans are a hell of a lot more liberal leaning than they were, let's say, 30 years ago. I mean, they're not doing all that great in my opinion either, for the most part.
Not to have a
Just an opinion.
single civilian nominee go by unanimous consent or voice vote at this point in his presidency. The first president on record. Think about that, Mr. President. And Democrats are using this strategy even on non-controversial nominees. Almost a quarter of the nominees whose confirmation process Democrats have dragged out actually got more than 60 votes here on the Senate floor.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Mr. President, the American people gave President
They're
Trump
just
a
doing
mandate,
it just because fuck Trump.
and
That's
he
the
deserves
only
to
reason,
have his
really.
team in place to execute that mandate.
We don't want to
for the
give him a
American people.
win.
Democrats can continue to drag this process out, but Republicans are going to get these nominees confirmed.
I mean, yeah, they probably will sooner or later, but are they going to stay during the month of August, or are they going to take off the month of August? I wonder what he's going to do. What are you going to do, Leader Jonathan? Are you going to go back home for August? I mean, look, the excuse that they always give, well, I have to go back for for the month of August. I mean, it's not for me. I'm doing it for my constituency. I have to go back to my hometown or to my home district and do some meet and greets and some town halls and stuff like that. But come on, let's be real. They're all going on vacation, and I'm sure that's what most of them are going to do regardless. But yeah, they should stick around Washington D.C. and they should get all these folks confirmed, and they should work on everything else that they should be working on in the meantime. But I don't know. We'll just see what ends up happening. But I already know what's going to happen. They're not going to probably keep running things in August. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I've been wrong before. All right. So this comes from Homeland Security. Under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, we are working at turbo speed on cost-effective and innovative ways to deliver on the American people's mandate for mass deportations of criminal illegal aliens. The One Big Beautiful Bill has provided historic funding to help us carry out this mandate, especially by securing enough detention capacity and beds.
So we know there was a July 8th memo that said nobody will be released. Once you apprehend someone on an immigration detention order, they will not be released. They'll be in custody. So you're going to need a lot of beds to do that. And $45 billion from the Big Beautiful Bill is going to help. How quickly do you expect to see these 10 facilities go up?
That is criminal, man. That is so criminal. That they're taking $44,000 million from American taxpayers and they're having to dump it into this whole illegal immigration bullshit that Biden got us stuck in. It is just absolutely fucking ruthless and ridiculous.
Where are they going to be? I know they're pushing back on this in New Jersey.
This is an all-hands-on-deck effort in this administration. We're working hand in glove with the Pentagon and quickly getting up these facilities. You saw with Alligator Alcatraz how quickly Secretary Noem was able to work with Governor DeSantis and his team to get that facility up. So that detention bed space is key. As you mentioned, that Big Beautiful Bill is going to double our detention bed space. So that is key operationally, so we can really turbocharge those arrest numbers. But keep in mind, Martha, and the American people should know, 70% of those illegal immigrants who we've arrested under this administration have either prior criminal charges pending or they have criminal convictions. So we are getting the worst of the worst out of this country.
Well, good. I'm glad we're at least getting the worst of the worst out of the country. I mean, $44 billion, that breaks down to about $200 per U.S. taxpayer. I mean, that's how much that we're going to have to pay for this shit. Each and every person, you have to pay $200. I have to pay $200. I mean, do you have just $200 just to throw away on something? No. I mean, you might, but I don't. I sure as hell don't. All right, so let's move on. Rapid Response 47. The press secretary highlights achievements from President Trump's first 6 months: defeating inflation, securing our homeland, ending worldwide conflicts, abolishing DEI from the government military, thank God, ending men and women's sports, also a good thing, stopping chemical castration of children, among other things that have happened
Yesterday,
recently.
as you all know, we celebrated 6 months of the Trump administration. It's been a pleasure to work with all of you day in and day out here at the White House. 6 months, the most transparent administration in history, if I may add. And I know the president just wanted me to highlight his accomplishments over the past 6 months. As you all remember, because you all covered it on the campaign trail, the president really promised the American people many things. But at the top of that list was to defeat the Biden inflation crisis and to secure our border and our homeland. And I think you've all seen in 6 months' time, the president has delivered on those two core campaign promises.
So far,
inflation
so good.
is now running at a 2.1% annual rate. You look at our southern border, look at the numbers. Just last month, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country. And then look at what the president has done on the world stage. He has ended wars like India and Pakistan. He continues to work aggressively to end the war in Russia and Ukraine. He completely obliterated Iran's nuclear sites.
Absolutely.
He has continued to hopefully negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza to end that conflict and release all of the hostages. We've seen many of the hostages released as a result of this president's efforts. And this president is working around.
I still can't believe that he got Iran to agree to a ceasefire after that happened. I'm still kind of at a loss for words how he was able to do that so damn quickly. And it seems to still be holding up. I haven't seen anything in the news with regard to Iran attacking Israel or firing missiles off at American bases or anything. That absolutely blows my mind that happened so quickly.
The clock every day to deliver on the promises he made. You also look at some of the cultural issues.
Goes to show how weak Iran must be.
DEI from our federal government and our military, to effectively end men and women's sports, which is a huge common sense policy that the American people support. And then if you look at the president's strong executive orders that have effectively ended the chemical castration of young children in our country. Just today, Washington, D.C. Children's Hospital in this city has announced they are no longer going to be prescribing puberty blockers to minors. This is a huge win for America and our children. There's certainly more work to do, and the president is doing it right now, and he will continue for the next 3.5 years. But certainly we've accomplished so much in just 6 months.
Hell yeah, let's go. All right, so this comes from Pete Hegseth. The Department of Defense is proud to partner with DHS, also ICE and CBP and DOJ to forge the most secure border in American history. And this is in response to President Trump's Truth Social post, one of the great success stories in the history of borders. And I'm including borders from anywhere in the world. Congratulations to Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, Rodney Scott, Pam Bondi, and Pete Hegseth. But a special congratulations to Border Patrol and ICE. These are all absolutely amazing people. Way to go. Oh, this is also from the U.S. Marines, which occurred today. The Marines with the 3rd Marine Division, they recovered a weighted ammo can from the sea floor during a search and recovery dive drill on Camp Schwab in Okinawa, Japan. This training is designed to enhance the Marines' proficiency and capabilities in specialized insertion and extraction operations. So that's freaking awesome, man. Doing the good work, man. Not exactly fighting the good fight with that, but at least, getting good, strong, prepared, doing their drills, getting better at doing what they do best. All right, so from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, attention, former federal law enforcement officers retired within the past 5 years. This is a pivotal moment in our country's history, and we call upon you to serve your country again now. Urgent job openings, criminal investigator, and deportation officers. So if there's anybody out there listening who's recently retired from federal law enforcement, they're asking you to serve your country once more and return to mission with Immigration Customs Enforcement. So let me go ahead and make that a little bit bigger again. And let's move on back to Nick's. Oh, no. I already did that one. All right, so we can skip past that one. I actually do have one more clip with regard to the Hunter Biden interview, which is coming up here in a few minutes. So also from Homeland Security, this I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Update footage from the criminal illegal alien suspects involved in the shooting of the off-duty CBP officer in New York City, driving the same moped that was driven at the scene of the crime to the hospital. One of the suspects dumps the body of his injured counterpart and flees. These individuals will face the full weight of the U.S. justice system. So let me pull this out a little bit just to try to get it all in frame. I hate it when it does that. Here, let me try to full screen it. Maybe that'll do a little better. Nope, not really. Freaking X, man. It's not very good on desktop. I don't like the desktop version, but whatever. So I don't think there's any sound, but check this out. Oh, there is sound. So pulling up here. I think I saw a better video of this, but he just lays them out. Fucking assholes. And then look at that. He just rides off like a bitch. Nobody there to stop him. No police. No nothing. Typically at hospitals, you can't just drop somebody off in the front of a hospital because you'll get arrested. I mean, they'll chase you down. I guess unless you're in New York City. Apparently that doesn't happen there. So apparently they've already been arrested. And I do have a post on that coming up. At least I believe I do. I'm pretty sure I do. So this is from U.S. Senator John Fetterman. You work hard for your money. You shouldn't be limited on how to spend it. So Fetterman pushes cash payments bill with GOP colleague. Every American should be able to use paper currency. And this is from Fox Business. So Fetterman and Republican Senator Kevin Cramer of North Dakota introduced the measure. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Actually, in 5 minutes. I'm not going to go 5 minutes. Plus, it's probably going to be chock full of ads anyway. So maybe not. I don't know. Here, let me just make this a little larger so you can read it along. Can I get any bigger than that? Maybe? All right. That's what she said. All right. So Senators John Fetterman, Democrat from Pennsylvania, and Kevin Cramer, Republican from North Dakota, have introduced a bill that would generally require those conducting in-person business to accept cash as payment from customers. I absolutely love this. I use cash all the time. And, the reason why I use cash all the time, it's because if I go to the ATM on my payday, I'll get usually about 140, maybe 160 bucks worth. So I'll get a handful of 20s. And once I use 1 or 2 20s, whatever the change is left over, I throw it into a cigar box and I just kind of let it build up. It's just a nice way just to save quote unquote loose change. But anyway, so quote, any person engaged in the business of selling or offering goods or services at retail to the public who accepts in-person payments at a physical location shall accept cash as a form of payment for sales made at such physical location in amounts up to and including $500 per transaction, the measure stipulates in part. Now, I know some places may not be too crazy about that because some like convenience stores or something. I know that there's some establishments that are a bit more prone to being robbed than others. This probably doesn't pertain to pizza delivery guys, I would assume. They're talking about a physical location. So, I mean, yeah, there's some jobs where they don't like carrying around a lot of cash because they could get ripped off or mugged or whatever. But I don't know. I think all in all, this is a good thing. So the proposal provides an exception if there's a device that converts cash into prepaid cards without any fee. I like that too. Don't charge a fee if you're going to do that. So I'll link that article in my description, just like I link every other article that I cover. Even if I just open it up and I'm just make a brief mention, it'll be in the description. So let me go ahead and bring this back up to size. So Tom Swazi, the immigration problem has persisted for decades. The status quo is not acceptable. Now's the time to pass real bipartisan immigration reform. Let's do it. So this is interesting because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's here. Hold on. Let me visit his page just right quick. Now, hold on. 3rd Congressional District. I'm just confirming just to make sure. Hold on. Yeah, I thought he was a Democrat. I'm still trying to get used to these symbols, like obviously blue's going to be Democrat, red's going to be a Republican, but they look different. The ones in the House versus the ones in the Senate. But anyway, yeah, so that's the House Democrats. So this dude's a Democrat, and he's talking about immigration reform. So clearly a good thing, and they even featured him on Fox News. So let's hear what he has to say about this.
Laws to make sure that'll last beyond any administration in the future.
It is a huge issue. You guys are working on things, but can something really be accomplished, even around the edges, on the issue of immigration?
Well, I think it has to be done. And, you know, it's been going on for 30, 40 years in our country that we've had this problem.
Amen.
And we have to give the administration
about time one of them steps up and
for the fact that they have
some fucking
done a great job securing the border. But we need to pass laws to make sure that'll last beyond any administration in the future. We need to fix the broken asylum system, and we need to lean into some of the president's comments where he says that farm workers and hospitality workers and other essential workers that are so important to our economy that have been here for more than 10 years, that have otherwise been following the rules and going to work 6 days a week and going to church on Sunday, let's figure out a way to legalize them so they can continue to work in the United States.
I mean, I somewhat agree with that, but if they came into the country illegally, I don't agree with that. But yeah, if we need a lot of workers in those positions and they just happen to be from Latin American countries or any other country in the world for that matter, if they want to come to our country and do the job, and if those jobs are in demand and we're having a problem trying to fill those jobs, then yeah, I mean, that's what we should be doing with the immigration system. If there's a demand for whether if it's a job or a career or whatever it might be, it could even be doctors. If we need more doctors, I think we used to do that. If we need certain positions that need to be filled, especially quickly, then we could reach out to the immigration system and have immigrants come in and fulfill those roles. So, but not if they're illegally here. I'm never going to agree with that at all. I don't care if they've been here for 10, 20, 30 years. So, all right, so moving on, Representative Darren Soto, the Trump administration just terminated EPA scientists who investigate pollution, climate change, and environmental emergencies. Under their watch, major companies pollute without consequence. Meanwhile, Americans get sicker and their neighborhoods get more toxic. It's as if they just fire these scientists, that all of these laws and all these regulations that we've put into place are just going to magically just disappear because we fire a few scientists. Now, are they firing more than a few? Probably. I mean, they could be firing dozens or maybe even hundreds of them. But something tells me that they're probably already overstaffed as it is, as they were over in the, not the National Weather Service. I'm trying to think what it was. Maybe the Atmospheric Administration or NOAA or whatever it is. One of the government agencies, departments, what have you, they were overstaffed with climatologists and weather guys, and a bunch of them were laid off too. And of course, Democrats were freaking out about that, saying that the climate's just going to go completely apocalyptic if we let some scientists go. But again, as I've been saying in all these episodes, we've got over 5 million people that are employed with the federal government. 5 million people. So we need to trim some fat. Absolutely need to trim some fat for sure. And I'm sure that these scientists are probably not as essential as the Democrats might lead you to believe. But anyway, I'll at least bring up the article just so I'll link it in the description for you. That's kind of how I remind myself to do so. I got to at least open it. That way it's up here in my tabs. So then that way I can just copy and paste the link into my description after I'm done. So the EPA cuts its scientific research office as layoffs are set to take effect. The Research and Development Office has been in the crosshairs of organizations allied with President Donald Trump. The EPA eliminated its scientific research office in the Trump administration's latest cuts to the federal workforce. The change, announced July 18th, affects the Office of Research and Development, which provided the EPA with information to make decisions on standards for human health and the environment. The EPA will now have a new Office of Applied Science and Environmental Solutions, according to an agency news release. So they're changing things around, and in the process of changing things, they're obviously letting some people go. Plus, now I don't know if they're actually going to get into it, but you have to take into account the possibility that AI is probably going to be taking a role in the EPA in the coming years, as they already are, or as it already is with our weather programs and whatnot. I know one instance where AI is playing a role as far as our weather system. It has to do with the hurricanes and the spaghetti models and how they're tracking hurricanes and predicting hurricanes, low pressure systems that spin up off of the coast of Africa and start heading over. They're using AI systems now to predict whether or not if they're going to spin up and which direction they're going to go. So they have there's the American model, and then there's the European model, and those are the ones that do the spaghetti plots, and they also do the cone that shows the direction that they believe that it's taking. They're now initiating a third model, which is an AI model, which they're going to implement with the American and I think it's the GFS model is the other one, the European one. So that's just one example of how they're implementing AI into our government. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's probably going to start seeing its way into the EPA and probably all over the government at some point. But you know what? I don't like to see people lose their jobs. I mean, that's only going to make the economy even worse than it already is. However, if there's any area where we could stand to have some job cuts, it would absolutely have to be with the federal government. So if AI is going to take care of that, I mean, I hate to say it, but we need to trim the government substantially, very substantially. So, but anyway, so this is from Mike Lee. Not wrong, not at all. And he's responding to Laura Ingraham, who's in turn responding to President Trump's Truth Social post, which I'll read his first. Hopefully, the very talented John Thune, fresh off our many victories over the past 2 weeks, and indeed 6 months, will cancel August recess and long weekends in order to get my incredible nominees confirmed. We need them badly. And I know I took a jab at him earlier. We'll just have to see. I'm just saying I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he did not cancel the August recess and everybody goes home, because the reason that they tend to give is that they have to go back home and speak to their constituents and find out what it is that they need back home. And a lot of them claim they haven't been home to speak to locals in a while, even though they've got an office in D.C. with a phone number and an email, and they've got a staff, which each Congress member and each senator, they're allocated well over $1 million worth of staffing funds with each, I don't know if it's each year or each term, but they receive plenty of money to hire a staff that can take whatever phone calls, answer whatever emails that are needed from their constituency, as well as others. But so anyway, so Laura Ingraham, she responded by saying, time for the Senate to remain in D.C. to get these critically important Trump nominees confirmed. Vacations will have to wait. America and Trump's agenda should not. Force Democrats playing these games to stay weekends. Yeah, I'm sure a lot more Democrats are playing games than Republicans are. With that being said, I'm sure there's some Republicans that are not crazy about the idea of sticking around D.C. for the month of August. All right, so from Rep. Pat Fallon, looking closer, it's clear that the $8 billion in foreign aid funds cut went toward woke nonsense or that did nothing to advance American goals. We must counter China's Belt and Road with real, responsible foreign policy that advances American interests, not progressive drivel. And yeah, let's give this
Okay, there are about $8 billion worth of foreign assistance program cuts. A lot of people say, hey, that's going to reduce America's ability to sort of project influence around the world. What do you say?
I'd say, yeah, on the surface, I could understand why somebody would say that. But then when you dig, you check under the hood and you see how that money was spent. When you're spending it on DEI programs in other nations, when you're spending it on
they were doing that.
operas, like DEI operas and transgender training, like in South America, that's not furthering American goals. I think it's impeding it. I think we're regressing in that regard. So we do need to challenge the Chinese Belt and Road initiatives, but we need to be doing that by building bridges and roads and infrastructure and computing for our allies in the developing world. We don't need to be doing it on force feeding them left wing progressive drivel.
Yeah, well, the Chinese Belt and Road initiative, isn't that essentially a highway that they're trying to construct across the Asian continent to open up more trade between China and other countries? Maybe I'm wrong. That might be something else. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on here. So Rep. Jamie Raskin, the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse. The president's job is to faithfully execute the decisions we've made, and he has signed into law. He may not impound, redirect, or confiscate money outside federal law. Oh, yeah? All right. Well, let's just see what... He's getting roasted in the comments, by the way. So then how did Biden do all the hundreds of thousands of flights and hotel rooms for illegals? What bill that you passed did the funding for that come from? Absolutely. Jamie's incapable of telling the truth. His cancer-eaten brain spews lies because he is mentally impaired and should never be in public office. Yikes. So you are taking Bland for $37 trillion debt. Good to know. Too bad all of you do is waste our tax dollars. So yeah, just getting absolutely just bodied down here in the comments. Did he hit one of your slush funds you had earmarked to steal from? Uh-oh. Oh, wow. You want to follow the U.S. Constitution, GFY, and get ready for prison life? Yup. Oh, man, dude. They are not happy. And they shouldn't be. They're absolutely correct. But, yeah, anyway, I just figured I might give that a view just to see how that tweet, post, whatever you want to call it these days, was getting received by those who also read it. So this is the other one from Hunter Biden. This is from Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, my representative. Hunter Biden says we need illegals to clean our hotel rooms and tend to our gardens. Illegal immigration is not compassion. It's modern slavery.
For someone, am I going to be like all these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. Fuck you. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your fucking table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your fucking garden? Who do you think is here by the fucking sheer fucking just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are the fucking criminals?
All right. That reminds me, what was that, a few years ago on The View? Who was that? Kelly Osbourne, something Osbourne, Sharon, Kelly, whoever it was, Osbourne said that, no, we need to keep the undocumented citizens, whatever the fuck she called them. It's like, we need to keep them here because who else is going to clean our toilets in our hotel rooms? And obviously it sounded exactly what she said. She said what they were all thinking out loud. And then everybody at the table at The View were like, whoa, no, oh, no, I can't believe you actually said that out loud. Quit saying what you're thinking. So, yeah, that was wild. So, the whole Hunter Biden thing, I hope he does another interview somewhere. They got to keep this dude on TV. With all these F-bombs he's dropping, it's fucking beautiful. I absolutely love it. It's hilarious. So, anyway, yeah, by the way, no wonder they kept him out of the spotlight practically the entire 4 years that Biden was in office, because dude's got a freaking potty mouth, man. Not to mention, God knows what he's on, substance-wise. I hope it's nothing. Hopefully he's in recovery. I don't want to wish anything, bad on him necessarily. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he still was, though. So anyway, from Rep. Eli Crane, yes, she should be. She's doing a great job. And that's pertaining to Tulsi Gabbard should not be the director of national intelligence. That was it. Why not? Why didn't you give us a reason? Usually you should follow that up with a reason. Why shouldn't she be the director of national intelligence? Is it because she's exposing the Barack Obama administration with regard to the whole Trump-Russia collusion bullshit? I mean, obviously that's why he said that. He's like, oh no, she's destroying everything that we've been working on all these years. She's gonna vindicate Trump, for fuck's sakes. So anyway, just to show a little bit of comments here. So hi, Senator Warner. Why? You afraid she's gonna out you and Bobby Mueller, right? Wait a minute. So Playbook reported on Sunday that sources overheard Warner, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, joke about how the proper amount of alcohol would cause him to spill secrets about Trump in the Russia investigation. Quote, if you get me one more glass of wine, I'll tell you stuff only Bob Mueller and I know. Warner was overheard joking to attendees at a dinner that was part of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee's annual Majority Trust Retreat on Friday night. Yikes. Uh-oh. Tulsi Gabbard is the best DNI we've had in decades. You're just scared of what she's going to find on you. Absolutely. Of course you're going to say that. She is uncovering your corruption. Absolutely. Mila Joy. Why? Because she's hurting Democrats? Mark Warner should be unemployed and ignored, if not indicted. Mark Warner should not be on the Senate Intel Committee. Am I doing it right? No one cares what you think. You're a communist. And so on and so forth. So yeah, a lot of pushback, to say the least, with regard to that comment. It's just so annoying how they just do these low IQ jabs on here without following it up with anything at all. It's just like, she doesn't deserve to be on the DNI. Why? Fucking why? All right, so also I mentioned this at the beginning of the video. Political polls, check this out. The new June fundraising numbers, the the RNC got 16.2 million, while the DNC got 8.6 million. And let me see if I can do some quick math here, but it's basically double. I'm not even going to worry about doing the math on it, but they basically received double the amount that Democrats got for the June fundraising numbers in total, which is awesome. It's great to see, great to hear. I think a lot of it probably has to do with the stance that Democrats took on the whole Israel-Palestine situation, siding with Palestine and by proxy Hamas, basically. And too many of them just took an anti-Israel stance, and a lot of Democrats, a lot of big-time, high-level donors to Democrats are Jewish. Not all of them, maybe not even most of them, but a lot of them are. And apparently a lot of them are walking away. Not to say that they're going to start funding Republicans. I wouldn't expect them to do that. It'd be nice if they did, but I'm not really sure, what's going on with that all behind the scenes with regard to the specifics of funding. All I know is that Republicans got a hell of a lot more than Democrats last month, so hopefully they'll keep that up. I mean, look, I think Republicans, they're ineffective at a lot of what they do. They don't have the balls that they really should have, and it's extremely frustrating, and we've been seeing that play out for years at this point. But, I mean, if they keep winning, and if they keep the House, they keep the Senate, especially with a supermajority, man, could you imagine that? Or on the other side of the coin, imagine if Democrats got the supermajority in Congress, and even if they got to the point where they had a supermajority on the Supreme Court, this country would just, it would collapse. I think it would, without any question. All these insane policies that they have, we'd be on the road. We wouldn't even be on the road to communism. We'd wake up tomorrow and we'd be in communism. But Republicans, on the other hand, if they got a supermajority, yeah, a lot of great things would happen. A lot of things would probably settle down. We'd probably get pretty good tax breaks and so on and so forth. Plenty of policies that do us more good than harm. However, I don't think they would really step it up at the rate that they should, especially if they were to get a supermajority crying out loud. Because that's not something that they'd probably hang on to for very long. That's for sure. But anyway, so this is from Congressman Rich McCormick, MBA. This goes beyond just illegal immigration. This is about protecting children from being exploited as slave labor. We must crack down on this cruelty and hold every responsible party accountable.
First of all, realize that you have child trafficking going on. We have lost tens of thousands of unaccompanied minors who have come across
hundreds,
the border.
Dude. 200,000.
That's the United States of America.
200,000.
We've been scolding other countries about this for years. We don't know if they're being sexually trafficked or if they're working in marijuana farms. They're not with their parents, and yet they're gainfully employed, and we want to...
Yeah, you think Epstein Island was bad. You really think that was bad. That's nothing compared to God knows where they're all being taken to. Not to say that they're all being sex trafficked or anything, but out of the hundreds of thousands of children that have just disappeared into our system, we have no idea where the hell they are. I mean, even if it's just 1,000 that have been placed into that situation, I mean, that's already on the level of Epstein Island. And I mean, God knows, man. It's like Pizzagate like 10.0 or something.
Pretend like that's something good. We know for a fact that there's human trafficking. They're paying off their debts from being smuggled across the border, working pennies on the dollar, working basically as slave labor, and we pretend like that's something good.
And Biden was flying them in overnight on airplanes under the cover of darkness into international airports. They even set up these barrier walls and stuff inside the terminals so nobody could see what was going on behind those walls. But they were flying in all these illegal immigrants, a lot of them probably children who were not even accompanied, but they flew them in anyway. It just makes you wonder, what plans did they really have for them?
Good? Let's not kid ourselves. This is illegal and something we've made many laws about this, and we don't want foreign countries to do it. Why would we support that here in the United States?
Fucking A, absolutely. 100%. So hopefully, though, I don't even know how you even solve for that. Or like, I mean, I know, just even without looking into the illegal immigration part of it, over 2,000 Americans go missing on a daily basis. That includes adults, elders, children. That's a lot of people that go missing. Now, most of them, they end up being found. They were just reported missing and they just showed up the next day. A lot of them probably have like a drug addiction or maybe they're like couch surfing, homeless at times. So most of them end up being accounted for. But still, 2,000 reported missing on a daily basis. And that doesn't even factor in the illegal immigrants, which they call them undocumented. They're undocumented. We don't have them on paper. And with all these children that have just disappeared by the hundreds of thousands, it's terrifying if you really think about it. So anyway, from Congressman Troy Downing, this week, my legislation, HJ Resolution 104, is on the House floor. This bill would open up the largest source of coal in the country for mining, unleashing American energy and bolstering our energy independence. Last week, I stressed the importance of incentivizing domestic mining and mineral production so that we aren't relying on adversaries like China. I love this, man. This is awesome. The largest coal mine in the country. Hell yeah. And actually, this is just a complete coincidence. Last night, after I was done with my episode last night, I was winding down, getting ready to go to sleep, and I was scrolling through YouTube, and just by coincidence, a video, it was a short documentary for Centralia, Pennsylvania, the coal mine fire situation that broke out in 1962. I watched that yesterday, and I learned a bit that I didn't know about. I've heard of it, but I didn't know the details, with them essentially setting that fire on purpose because they were burning trash at a local dump in that town. And that fire just spread into a coal vein, and it essentially caught an entire coal mine on fire. And that fire is going to burn for at least another 250 years, which is absolutely crazy. But the fire for Centralia, it's not burning underneath Centralia anymore. The fire is actually spread out. It's about 8 miles away from where it started. So they believe all the fire has burned itself out inside the town, which like 98% of people were relocated, and it's basically a ghost town at this point. But that was an interesting documentary. I mean, on a somewhat related note, not really, but kind of. I mean, let's hope nothing like that happens, especially with this mine. Could you imagine an accident like that occurring in the largest coal mine in the country? Holy shit. So, all right, so let's give this a quick watch here from Fox Business.
Well, this is a huge issue. You know, rare earths, critical minerals is important to our energy dominance. It's important to our national security. And we see bad actors trying to harm us in this space. So in my backyard, I've got the Siboney-Stillwater mine, which is the only place in America that pulls platinum and palladium out of the ground.
Really?
And they had to lay off 700 high-paid workers there because of Russian interference in the market. Basically, the Russians were dumping these metals into the market, causing unfair change in the commodities market, which made it economically unfeasible. So I have a bill to actually stop that and stop Russian dumping. But you're going to see that in other countries. China is one that obviously we're looking at very closely. But we need to make sure that we can produce these critical minerals in the interest of national security and our energy policy here domestically, and not be dependent on any other nation, especially one that's adversarial to us. So I'm really happy that we're starting to take some bold strides in that to make sure that we are producing here for what we need.
And dude, like silver is going up like fucking crazy. Here, let me bring this up. So silver right now, it is absolutely taken off. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out which one I think I checked this one earlier. It's almost $40. It's like $39 right now. Absolutely insane. Look at this shit. It's absolutely crazy. Wait a minute. Is that? Yeah, that's silver. And hold on. How do I adjust? Here we go. Let's go back. Actually, let me pull back 5 years. Check this out. Look at this. Just in 2024, from like what, January of 2024 until now, in the last year and a half, it's basically doubled. Just insane, man. Silver has taken off like a rocket. It's good for those who have invested in it, but it's not so good for those who want to invest more in it, because now you're stuck almost having to pay damn near $40 for it. I assume the reason why silver, and I'm sure gold is probably skyrocketed as well, the reason that I believe that it's going up, and I'm sure I'm right, that with all this AI infrastructure that they're building, all these circuit boards and all these electronic components, they require silver, because silver, it's the most conductive metal of any other metal on the periodic table. So there's a high demand for silver in the electronic sector, and I'm sure this AI boom that we seem to be going through, or that we absolutely are going through, seem hell. Companies investing hundreds of billions of dollars into it. See, look at the same thing. From January of 24, it's also taken off like crazy. It's up to almost over $3,400, or at $3,400 right now, just for 1 ounce of gold. It's unfucking believable. I mean, look, going back to what, 2006? It was like $550 for an ounce of gold back in 06. And if it went back further, if you look back to the beginning, I mean, going back into the 90s, it was like what, like $200 or something. And silver was only $5 back then. It was like $5. But yeah, see right here, it was like $8.38 back in early 06, or late 2005. I mean, not 06, late 2005. The same with that number for gold. So yeah, man, it's crazy. It's I don't know, man. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing, unless of course you've invested a lot into silver. But so anyway, so from Rep. Tony Gonzalez, fast-tracking approvals for anti-parasitic treatments for livestock is another important step we must take to protect our livestock industry from the New World screwworm. The hell is the New World screwworm? So thank you, Rep. Kamek, for working alongside me on this critical issue. And let me just bring this up. I'm not going to get really into the weeds with the article. Again, I'm just mainly bringing it up just to drop it because, somebody might be interested in reading this. But lawmakers are urging a fast-track approval of screwworm treatments for livestock. A group of congressional lawmakers is urging federal agencies to fast-track approvals of anti-parasitic treatments for livestock in response to the growing threat of the New World screwworm. U.S. Rep. Tony Gonzalez and Rep. Kat Kamek of Florida are leading the effort, calling for swift action to protect U.S. livestock as the screwworm moves closer to the southern border. It's like the killer bee situation from when was that, 2000? The lawmaker sent a letter to U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. urging coordination between his agency, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Environmental Protection Agency, and pharmaceutical manufacturers. The letter highlights the serious health and economic risks posed by NWS, which is moving north through Mexico and approaching the U.S. border. So, how is it affecting Mexico? That's my question. Has the cost of beef in Mexico absolutely skyrocketed because it's had such a disastrous effect in Mexico? Because to me, this sounds like the egg situation all over again. The whole egg shortage, or lack thereof. They told us there was an egg shortage when there really wasn't. They were still manufacturing like 780 million eggs per month back earlier this year. You remember when eggs were like up at like $8, $9, $10, $12 fucking dollars for a carton of eggs? Well, come to find out, and I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago. You can check it out. There was no egg shortage. Not really. I mean, like on average, there was like 780 million eggs that are produced from the top 4 egg producers on a monthly basis. And at the height of this bird flu, whatever it was that was going on at the time, the production only dropped by 20 million. But yet, the cost of eggs went up like 4x. And to make it even more infuriating, the shareholders for these large companies, they were getting massive payouts. They were getting like 300% bonuses above and beyond what they were getting the year prior, because they skyrocketed the cost of eggs, and they made giant profits off of it. But apparently there's investigations happening at the federal level to try to see if there was any price gouging, which there clearly was. But anyway, so let me go ahead and just move on to the next one here. This is from CBP. Nearly 300 pounds of meth disguised as solar panels, ain't that a bitch, were seized from CBP officers at LAX at the fucking airport. The shipment, headed for New Zealand, was flagged based on prior intel and intercepted before export. We do this every day. These criminal masterminds never stood a chance. And what's interesting, not long ago, there was a news story in New Zealand where they disguised hard candy. They call it lollies, but apparently that's just a New Zealand way of calling like hard candy or whatever. But there was a bunch of meth that was disguised as hard candy that they were smuggling into New Zealand. And what ended up happening was one of those packages somehow slipped through the cracks and found its way onto a store shelf. And somebody picked it up and they were handing it out for Halloween, having no idea. So a bunch of kids got a hold of actual meth disguised as hard candy. And I don't think any kids died from it. I want to say it was either last Halloween or it might have been the Halloween before. But yeah, obviously New Zealand's got a hell of a meth problem, or at least a hell of a meth import problem. So yeah, look at this shit, man. They're putting this shit in solar panels now. Fucking crazy, dude. I mean, I guess you got to kind of admire their ingenuity, or at least their tenacity. But yeah, I'm sure. I don't even know. Maybe I should even look that up and maybe do a video on some of the craziest ways that they've discovered that they've disguised drugs in an attempt to try to get it through the border. Because solar panels, that's a new one to me. I've never heard that before. All right, so moving on. U.S. Department of Energy. This astounding discovery has freed American energy. Still not tired of winning? The first new American rare earth mine in 70 years has opened? Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I was going to say, where the hell is the article? It's the first new American rare earth mine in 70 years. I'm assuming it's pertaining to its opening. The groundbreaking discovery at the Ramaco Brook Mine marks a turning point for America as the first new rare earth facility in 7 decades containing 1.7 million tons of rare earth oxides. Developing American supply chains for rare earth minerals strengthens our energy security. So the good news on the energy and technology front just keeps it coming. In the latest, the Department of Energy on Wednesday announced the opening of the first new American rare earth mining project in 70 years. So yeah, it opened. The Ramaco Brook Mine in Wyoming is estimated to contain as much as 1.7 million tons rare earth oxide. So that's good news. We import 100% of the minerals, scandium and yttrium. Scandium is used to make aluminum alloys heavily used in aircraft, along with its use in light sources. And yttrium has a wide range of uses, from electronics to medical applications. So that's a good thing. So we were importing 100% of those minerals, and hopefully this mine will do more than fix that. Hopefully we'll reduce that number down to 0. Fantastic news. Winning, winning, winning. From Secretary Brooke Rollins. Look at what you made me do. Last night, I joined a python hunt in the Florida Everglades, got hands-on with Florida's invasive species problem, learned how to wrangle those slithery giants like a pro, joined a heart-pounding hunt under the swamp's moonlight, and saw up close how these pythons disrupt the ecosystem. Who's ready to join the hunt? Dude, I'd be careful with that thing wrapping around her neck, man. But yeah, she was obviously fine. Wearing her Make America Great Again camo hat. Gotta love it. So, out there in the middle of the Florida Everglades, I don't know if they still do, but I believe that they paid for each one that you kill. I don't know if they still do that. I believe that they did at one point. If you go out there python hunting, it probably has to be a certain size to get a certain amount of pay for each one, but I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but I'm pretty sure they were at some point. But yeah, it's obviously a big problem. I think everybody's heard of that at this point. Freaking python problem, because idiots down in the South Florida, Miami, Homestead area, they would get them as pets, and then they would just turn them loose when they got too big to feed. All right, so from Homeland Security, make no mistake, this criminal illegal alien pulled the trigger, but Mayor Eric Adams and sanctuary politicians in this country, like him, have blood on their hands Innocent Americans have lost their lives, suffered horrific sexual violence, and endured unspeakable trauma at the hands of dangerous criminals who should have been swiftly removed from our communities. And this is in regard to those two assholes that shot the CBP officer when he was off duty. And they got him. They fucking arrested him.
He was arrested 4 different times in New York City, and because of the mayor's policies and sanctuary city policies, was released back to do harm to people and to individuals living in this city. Make no mistake, this officer is in the hospital today fighting for his life because of the policies of the mayor of the city and the city council and the people that were in charge of keeping the public safe. They refused to do so, and now we have the situation on our hand where someone who has dedicated their lives to protecting the public is now fighting for his own. I'm calling on every single mayor and sanctuary city and sanctuary governor to change their policies and to change their tactics right now. Their job is to take an oath to protect the public, to protect families that are out there every single day trying to provide for each other and to try to live the American dream, and they want to do so safely in their own communities. How many more lives will it take? How many more people have to be hurt and victimized before we have public safety be a #1 priority in some of our largest cities? When I look,
you know what? I'd be curious to hear how Democrats are responding to this, if they're even responding at all. I would not be the least bit surprised if they didn't run anything on mainstream news with regard to this. They probably ran something with regard to assailants shot a CBP officer. I doubt they said illegals. If they said anything, they probably said undocumented citizens.
Look at what Mayor Adams has done to New York City. It breaks my heart to see the families that have suffered because of his policies.
Fucked up, man.
We can look across this country at other mayors. We look at Mayor Wu in Boston and what has happened there under her watch. What's happened in L.A. with the riots and the violence and the protests that have gone on because of Mayor Bass and what she has perpetuated. When you look at Mayor Johnson in Chicago and how devastating it is to live in that city and some of those poorest communities, how they suffer every single day with the violence that's in front of them, just because these individuals are protecting criminals. They're protecting criminals who go out and murder, rape, rob. They perpetuate violence on our children. They traffic them and drugs and damage this country every single day under the protection of sanctuary city and governors who put in place these policies that allow them to perpetuate these crimes with no consequences.
Yep, and guess what? The residents, they keep fucking voting for him. They just keep voting for him time and time again. It's just mind-blowing. But the comment I made with regard to Brazil, like what I meant about that is a lot of crimes are committed on these freaking scooters. They'll drive around and they'll just pull up, pulling a gun on somebody and grabbing their purse or just taking everything that they have, and they'll just take off and just blend into just traffic, and they'll just disappear. And they're doing the same shit in New York City. It's absolutely fucking nuts. So this comes from the White House. President Trump is further securing American energy by eliminating subsidies for unreliable green energy sources, preventing American taxpayers from funding expensive and unreliable energy policies from the Green New Scam. Like I said the other day, nuclear, man. We got to open up all the nuclear power plants we can possibly open. It's not something that can be done overnight. It takes years to have to build one of those things, but we should have been doing that all along. It's just absolutely crazy that they're wrecking our energy grid by building all this unreliable bullshit, the wind turbines and solar panels, the cost of just the battery backup. It's completely unfeasible. And I think probably everybody knows that at this point. So that's obviously good news that he's pushing that forward, getting rid of all that junk that we're wasting money, probably over, trillions of dollars at this point, I'm sure, that we've spent on that garbage. So, not to say that it's complete garbage. There is a place for solar, all right? I'm not 100% anti-solar. I just want to clear the air on that. I think that if you've got the means, the resources, and if you live in the right area of the country, like here in Florida, there's a lot of people around here that have solar panels on their rooftops, and it actually does a lot of good, especially if we end up in a hurricane situation and we're without power for days. That's certainly better than running a gas generator, because you're going to have to keep that thing filled up with gas, and that's a pain in the ass. And the just from Hurricane Milton that we had just this past fall, I mean, there were lines at gas stations that were going on like a quarter mile, just people waiting forever just to get gas for their generators. It's absolutely crazy. I just roughed it out the hard way. I didn't have AC or anything, without power for, I think it was almost 4 days. Yeah, it was over 3 days. But I went kind of the cheap way. I've got a little power inverter that you hook up to your car battery, and it's got 2 power outlets on the other end, and I use that for my coffee maker and also for my microwave. And as long as I got a microwave and a coffee maker, I'm all good to go. But yeah, anyway, so let's just move on from here. From the White House, read the facts. Fact sheet: President Donald Trump ends market distorting subsidies, which is piggybacking off of the last post. So he ends market distorting subsidies for unreliable foreign-controlled energy sources. Foreign-controlled energy sources. So trying to adjust it. Yeah, it looks like that's going to kind of be in the way there. But ending American dependence on unreliable energy sources. Today, he signed an executive order to eliminate subsidies for unreliable green energy sources, as the tweet mentioned a minute ago. The order directs the Secretary of the Treasury to terminate the clean electricity production and investment tax credits for wind and solar facilities and implement the enhanced foreign entity of concern restrictions, each as identified in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The order directs the Secretary of the Interior to revise regulations and policies to eliminate preferential treatment for wind and solar facilities compared to reliable, dispatchable energy sources. So that's a good thing. So securing American energy and ensuring American prosperity. So he's committed to unleashing American energy, preventing American taxpayers from funding expensive and unreliable energy policies from the Green New Scam, which includes unreliable wind and solar energy sources, displace affordable, dispatchable energy, compromises America's electric grid, and denigrates the beauty of our nation's natural landscape, for sure. And they don't give a shit about the birds. They don't give a shit about the whales, because they got to migrate, and dealing with wind turbines, it's kind of a problem. Reliance on the so-called green subsidies threatens national security by making the United States dependent on supply chains controlled by foreign adversaries. That is true, too. Ending the massive cost of taxpayer handouts to unreliable energy sources is vital to energy dominance, national security, economic growth, and the fiscal health of the nation. And I'll link this in the description. I'll just leave it there. But as far as I remember, when it comes to solar panels and wind turbines, aren't they required by federal law to produce that inside the country? I believe they actually passed a law on that. Anything as far as green energy goes. Now, the source material, I'm sure they're not sourcing it here. I'm sure a lot of it comes from China, and they probably use a loophole like that where they'll assemble it in the U.S., but they're probably not building all of the components from scratch in the U.S., but I know we actually do have some facilities for wind turbines and for solar panels that are actually producing equipment for that, but to the extent of it, I'm not so sure. I mean, it's the same with the auto industry. When you got Ford and GM and everybody else, with the exception of Tesla, the majority of the components for our current motor vehicles, the new ones and even the newer used ones, the majority of it's not even manufactured in the U.S. They just assemble them in the U.S., and most of the time, the vehicles aren't even assembled here. They're assembled in Mexico and Canada, other places. So anyway, I'll just move on. So from Rep. Andy Harris, MD, myth versus fact. The left is lying about Medicaid, work requirements, and rural hospitals. Here's the truth. So the myth is that Republicans are slashing Medicaid and kicking people off coverage. The fact, false. No one who is eligible for Medicaid is being removed. We are targeting fraud, waste, and abuse, including states improperly paying benefits to illegals. And from Senate Republicans, 1 year ago today, Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race after his mental decline was finally exposed to the world on the debate stage. Reminder, Democrats knew about his cognitive state. They worked together to cover it up, and they lied to America with straight faces. Check this out.
Top Democrats facing questions over former President Biden's health.
People were arguing with a straight face that this man could serve 4 more years.
This is bigger than Watergate.
I think the president is an incredibly compelling figure.
I said what I believe to be true.
And you think he was as sharp as you?
I said I had not seen decline.
Is Joe Biden fit to serve as president?
So scummy.
Is he in cognitive decline, Congressman?
I have every confidence in his abilities as president.
As someone who has spent significant amount of time with Joe Biden, that he is up for this job.
Well, I think that, again, I
I have not made a personal assessment of Joe Biden's mental decline.
Mr. Ossoff emphasized that he had spent a substantial amount of time with the president in recent months. I found him to be sharp, focused, impressive, formidable, and effective, he said.
I've met no president like him.
Boy, I'm sure you've not met any other president like him. All right, so there's that. That was interesting, kind of fun to see. Just the absolute clown world that we found ourselves in recent years. So from Secretary Kristi Noem, I am enormously grateful to God that this CBP officer is still with us today. His quick action speaks to the tenacity and excellence of our CBP and federal law enforcement officers. This incident should have never happened. The perpetrator should have never been here in the first place, which we believe we already did see that. So I'm going to skip over this because I'm pretty sure we already got the gist of that in the last one, the last video clip. So from Tricia McLaughlin, these violent thugs had committed a smorgasbord of crimes and had been arrested multiple times, and yet New York continued to release them, ignore an ICE detainer, and allowed them to continue to prey on Americans and terrorize our streets. How many people have to die? How many lives have to be changed forever for Mayor Eric Adams and his sanctuary politician ilk to end these performative policies? And this is from Bill Malugan. So new, DHS confirms that both of the men are in custody for the shooting and attempted robbery of an off-duty CBP officer in New York City. They are Dominican illegal aliens who were caught and released at the border during the Biden administration. DHS says both have active deportation orders and both were protected by sanctuary policies with ICE detainers ignored on prior arrests. Miguel Francisco Mora Munez was caught and released at the border in April of 2023. And then Christian Ibar Berroa was caught and released at the border in 2022. The CBP officer was shot in his face and arm, and thank God he's recovering. Those two bitches, little fucking scumbags. Oh man, New York, you all got blood on your hands, man. That is absolutely fucking appalling that they allowed that to happen. Just absolutely ridiculous, man. Time and time again. They're not the only ones that committed crimes. Plenty of them. Way too many. From Speaker Mike Johnson, a year ago today, President Biden's disastrous debate performance ended his re-election campaign and exposed the largest political cover-up in U.S. history. As House Republicans investigate the scandal to bring accountability, the American people should never forget how far Democrats and the media went to hide the truth about the mental decline of the man holding the most powerful position on earth. Here is just a small sample of the receipts.
This
From
is a
CNN.
man that's on his game.
On his game, top of his game.
He's at the
Oh my
top
God,
of
14
his
minutes.
game, top of his game.
We'll just play a minute of
Such
it.
a consequential president of the United States, a Mount Rushmore kind of president.
Is on the ball. The man knows more than
This
most
really
of us
goes
have,
on for 14 minutes.
forgotten.
Just nonstop clips. I bet it does.
The Oval Office or see him on Air Force One, I have to be on top of my game.
Do you believe President
This is
Biden
just a
is the
small
future of the
sample.
Democratic Party, the strongest person to represent Democrats in 2024?
Absolutely.
Biden is extraordinarily strong.
Is the strongest, most accomplished president we've had in my lifetime.
Boldest,
Fucking liars, man. Fucking liars.
American presidents we have had.
You lie.
Leader.
Focused. His recall was good.
Focused. He's detail-oriented.
Fitness, his vigor is beyond question.
Scumbaggery. It is immeasurable.
I figured fully vigorous and great mental and physical health.
Effective and capable
Nobody
president.
fucking believed him anyway.
Doing the job.
Who the hell actually believed that?
serve another term.
Capable.
Forget Republicans. How many Democrats actually believe this shit?
lot of
Probably
72-year-olds not as capable as this 80-year-old.
We have a talented and capable president.
Yeah, but I don't think he's capable. I know he's capable.
He is capable, a strong and capable president, was fully capable of competently leading our nation.
President Biden has a photographic memory. Out of my mind.
Oh my God, dude, a photographic memory.
The president's stamina.
God, these people are so retarded, man.
To get this
No, they're not
done
retarded.
on
They know what the
behalf
fuck they're doing.
Of the American people against anyone on any day.
Clearly, this
Dude,
president...
they really honestly believe the American people are that stupid. And frankly, a lot of people are, I don't know if I'd call them full on stupid. Well, there's a lot of progressives that are actually pretty stupid, but they're misinformed. They've had tons of misinformation, disinformation, just flooding just everything in front of them for years. And it's just crazy. They just go on and on, just lying and lying and lying. Just crazy, man.
Fit to serve.
President Biden has proven himself to have a strong memory.
These people are evil.
Joe Biden,
they're all evil.
Was on fire.
Biden is better equipped to do that than Joe Biden.
Just the scumbaggery, man.
Is absolutely.
You can smell it through the screen.
President is extremely effective.
I've met no president like him.
Most accomplished president we've had in my lifetime.
President, he is fully coherent. He is on top of details.
He's definitely in better shape than I am, that's for sure. He's very fit. He works out almost every day.
Man.
I know that he is ready for this campaign. I have seen how effective he has been up close and personal.
We see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issues, how informed he is. And I debate with him about legislation, but not debate, but discuss it with him. He's right there.
Absolutely. He has more energy than I do. He works us all under the table. I can say that.
So full of horse shit.
And he puts many of us to shame with his energy.
I can tell you, having traveled with him a fair amount, sometimes he's hard to keep up with.
Kind of.
I am so glad this administration's over.
Reserves of energy.
Talk about a cringe fest.
Issues. He's Joe Biden, and Joe Biden. There's nobody better than Joe Biden.
But how it is hard for us to keep up with this president.
Clear to me that he had the energy and the ability to continue to do this work.
I can't even keep up with it.
That was filled with passion and power and wisdom and energy.
I see his
just goes on and on.
I see his energy. I see his passion.
He's got the energy and he's ready to take this on.
I have not heard a single person express anything negative.
Have you heard any concerns from anyone who has met with
Grace,
President
man, it's like the opening for Spaceballs. It just goes on and on and on.
No, I don't have any concerns, and that's from personal interactions.
Do you share those concerns?
I don't share those concerns.
But can you honestly say you don't have any concerns about Joe Biden that night in these debates?
I do not have concerns.
I mean, there should be no concern.
Do you have any concerns about his age? Do you have any concerns about whether or not he should be the nominee?
Dude, she doesn't know fucking anything, man. Are you kidding?
Right now, when it comes to
I think I'm like totally brain dead right now.
Folks are talking about how he's 81.
Did he lay any concerns that you may have had about his age or his ability to do the job?
I don't know. I just love to bang my brother. He's like so hot.
To me, I'm ready.
He must be unburdened by what's already had, Dan.
There's not a problem. This president is going to be able to sell a...
All right. I'm not going to keep going with it, but if you want to hop on X and check it out, it's on Speaker Mike Johnson's profile. 14 minutes and 22 seconds. And as he said, it's just a small sample, and I'm sure he's absolutely right. I'm sure that they could piece together probably a 12-hour video just nonstop. Just the lies and the lies and the lies. All right, so Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, AF Global Strike owns and operates 2/3 of the nuclear triad. These quiet professionals safeguard our nation and protect peace through strength. Their mission is vital, their story powerful. Grateful to Sam Ekholm for bringing it into the spotlight. I'm not familiar with Sam Ekholm, but this is the story of the most powerful weapon on Earth and the airmen who work 365 days a year to protect it. Full video live on YouTube. And this is just a little taste of it.
A team of Air Force Global Strike Command airmen launched an unarmed Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic. F.E. Warren Air Force Base, Wyoming, used these test launches to verify the accuracy and reliability of the ICBM weapon system.
In short, it's big, it's fast, and it lays down a can of whoop ass the world has never seen.
Hell yeah!
It takes a team to get this mission accomplished.
We also want to make sure that we safeguard that to our best capability possible.
Let's prepare for launch. Hands on keys and switches.
Hands on keys and switches.
On my mark.
Oh, that's crazy.
Working to make the price of war
God
too
forbid,
high
right?
for an enemy to risk.
Man, I might have to check that out. Actually, looks pretty good. Yeah, man, God forbid that we ever actually have to use them in real world situations. So moving on, Secretary Marco Rubio, notorious Ecuadorian drug lord Adolfo Maquez Villamar, alias Fido, probably Fido, I don't know, will soon face justice in the U.S. for leading a vicious transnational criminal organization. The Trump administration remains committed to ending the scourge of narco-trafficking and working with regional partners like President Daniel Noboa to make our region safer and stronger. So that is, Ecuador. All right, so the president of Ecuador. And moving on to Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, once again, arrests need to be made. This is not a Republican or Democrat issue. This is about the sanctity of our constitutional republic. It's simply illegal what they did, and it's time we uphold the law. So what did they do? Let's check this out.
Are we ever going to see any accountability
Here she is right there.
Here?
Most certainly, Maria. You saw with the report that Tulsi put out. I mean, we're talking about there needs to be criminal prosecution and arrest. You know, lying under oath, putting out a false intelligence report. That's a violation of 18 U.S. Code 1001 that comes with a 7-year prison sentence and up to $250,000 fine. But we're talking about something more nefarious than this. I think that this is a perfect example and reason why there needs to be FISA reform as well. As you know, Maria, that false intelligence report resulted in FISA courts issuing a warrant to illegally surveillance the president of the United States now. And what I can tell you is if we don't stop this, if we don't actually say this will not be tolerated, this is not a Democrat or Republican thing. This is about the health and the sanctity of a constitutional republic. And so there needs to be arrests. This is not partisan. This is simply illegal what they did, and we're simply upholding the law.
Yep. And a big problem is that Republicans wouldn't do that nearly at the level that Democrats did. I know you can make an argument for Richard Nixon or whatever, but dude, Watergate's nothing compared to this whole Russia bullshit that we've been dealing with for a fucking decade. All right, so the U.S. ambassador to NATO. My recent conversation with Fox and Friends first captured the Trump administration's approach to NATO. Peace through strength. Made in America, paid for by Europe. Hell yeah, dude.
Working very closely with our allies and with the industry in the United States that manufactures these systems. They're a high demand, low availability weapon system. But there's so many other things in addition to the Patriots. That's just number one on the list, especially as you're seeing record attacks overnight in many nights in Ukraine and on the battlefield. But I want to be clear, Carly, that, since day one, President Trump has been very clear that we need peace, that this senseless killing must stop. Look,
I don't like the idea of the United States building weapons that are being sent to Ukraine, whether if we're paying for it or not. I honestly don't like the idea of that happening. But, hell, what are you going to do?
No military solution to this war.
We should stay out of it.
And at the same time, President Trump has also said that the days of the U.S. sending unlimited taxpayer dollars to defend Ukraine are over. And that's why this smart decision by President Trump and an agreement with NATO where our NATO European allies together with Canada are paying for these weapons, I think it's just a natural extension of what we saw at The Hague in our summit last month, where these weapons are manufactured in the U.S. by American workers. They're the best in the world. And so this transition that we've talked about before of Europe taking over its own defense and paying for it is America First foreign policy at work.
Good.
Yeah. Peace through strength, made in America, paid for by Europe. I don't know if that fits on a red hat, but if it does, maybe the Trump administration sounds good, though, should get it? Going on it. Yeah. Ambassador, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, all of it except the Ukraine part. I don't like the idea or the plan that they just keep sending weapons over to Ukraine. Look, if Europe wants to pay to have weapons sent over to Ukraine, let them deal with it. And I don't know. I guess if it's American made, it's American made. I just wish we wouldn't have even gotten involved in it in the first place. But, what are you going to do at this point? So, breaking 911. Shock video. Honduran illegal kidnaps a woman in Houston before torturing her for days, deputies say. This is absolutely crazy.
He's arrested a 22-year-old. His name is Jose Carcoma.
Just in broad daylight,
man. For kidnapping. ICE says that he's a Honduran national who entered the U.S. illegally back in 2020. Well, investigators say that video, as you referenced, was from Elderberry Lane. You could see that woman being carried back to a mobile home where she...
And this asshole was probably sitting in prison on convicted of murder or some shit in some Latin American country. They emptied out the prisons and they sent him up here to America. And now we're dealing with this
allegedly
shit.
Was locked up for
Honduras.
days, deprived of food, sexually
probably in
assaulted.
A Honduran prison.
Harris County Sheriff's Lieutenant John Klafka says that deputies were called out to that trailer on Monday after neighbors reported a possible child abduction. Now, when they searched that mobile home, they say they found a 44-year-old Chinese immigrant, a woman inside of a closet with her hands bound. She told detectives that she'd come to Houston from New York promised better pay for a job in the massage industry. But after first arriving at an unknown location, someone stole her passport. Then she got moved to the trailer. And investigators believe that Carcoma is just one piece of a much larger trafficking operation.
Wow.
Nobody is here for her, so we've got to do everything we can to ensure that she can trust us to do our jobs and find the rest of the people that are involved in this.
I mean, honestly, he was kind of giving me serial killer vibes there for a minute. But anyway, that's the last that I got. So it's been quite a day in news today, in the goings-on of the government, the affairs of the government. It's been quite busy, as Mondays typically are, because they usually don't really post a whole lot over the weekend. Individual politicians, they'll keep posting throughout the weekend, but the inner workings of government, it's usually kind of quiet, with the exception of like some ad related, join the fight or check this out or what have you. But anyway, yeah, that's all I got. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you did enjoy it. Also give a like if you can, or if you leave a comment. I read all my comments for at least a couple of weeks. So if you post one, I'll be sure to read it. Definitely fact check me if there's anything that I got wrong, or if I read something that you believe to be wrong or that's wrong. Definitely share it in the comments and I'll check it out. And if that proves out, then I'll even make a mention of it on my next video. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time, and God bless America.